Every single month, people move to Georgetown, Texas from out of state, and many of them make the exact same mistake. They pick the wrong area. Not because they're careless, but because they rely on Zillow or Google or a weekend visit instead of getting true local insight. After helping families relocate to Georgetown, Texas for over 3 decades, I can tell you the #1 mistake people make when they move here. And it costs them, well, tens of thousands of dollars, years of frustration, or worse, just feeling stuck somewhere. So in this video, I'm going to break down the 5 areas you should think twice about if you're not local, and the single biggest mistake most out-of-state buyers make when choosing a realtor, and how to avoid that. Before we get into the list, here's one thing that catches just about every out-of-state retiree off guard. Most people think Georgetown is one simple suburb north of Austin. It certainly isn't. Georgetown is fragmented across multiple taxing districts, HOA structures, multiple school districts, and neighborhoods with dramatically different costs and lifestyle realities. I've seen retirees move here from all over the U.S., literally, who all assume that Georgetown was broadly similar throughout. But that assumption has cost some of them dearly. And here's a key thing before we get into the list. None of the areas I'm going to cover are bad areas. Some of them are fabulous. They're just a bad fit for certain people. And those people are those who don't really understand the trade-offs. I say that because locals who are downsizing or retiring here usually have a pretty good idea of those trade-offs. But even that's not always the case. I met an awesome couple retiring locally who literally moved twice in the next 12 months before landing where they wanted to be. So with that in mind, let's look at the 5 areas I would think carefully about if you're retiring to Georgetown, Texas, especially from out of state. Oh, and here's one more reminder before we get into that. My personal philosophy has always been to invest in my clients. Well, if you're seriously considering a move to Georgetown, Texas, I'm going to help pay for your trip here. You heard that right. But instead of convincing you that you heard it right, I'm just going to refer you to visit.georgetowntxrealestate.com. All the information is there. Now, let's jump into that list. Number 5 on the list is Sun City, Texas. For most buyers, Sun City is a genuinely fantastic community. It's a 55-plus active adult community with resort-style amenities, 3 fabulous golf courses, strong social connections, strong social programs. The homes are well built. The community is beautifully established. If you search best retirement communities in Texas, Sun City is always going to come up. So why is it on this list? Well, let me introduce you to a couple who moved here from out of state about 2 years ago. Both were still working when they moved here, thinking, well, we'll move to a spot and then we'll be set. Well, they were still working and they chose Sun City because they lacked the great value. Beautiful homes in the $300,000 to $450,000 range among people their age. Pristine community, so many fabulous amenities. Sun City, by the way, sits on the western edge of Georgetown, and that makes certain commutes, like the one to Austin, more challenging than another location would. There are actually far better locations in Georgetown for commuting to Austin, but Sun City was kind of the only thing on their radar, mainly because no one had told them differently. They're still in Sun City, but they kind of dread their commute every day, and they're counting the days until they can actually retire from their jobs or maybe make a change before then. Another couple who moved from out of state had lived on a large lot, but decided Sun City was very impressive because it is. After moving in, they just felt a little cramped in their home and in the neighborhood. Just wasn't the lifestyle that they wanted. They now live on a home in an acre. They went through the cost and expense of moving to a home on an acre, very close to Sun City, and are thrilled to be in Georgetown. But they did experience the extra cost and trouble to make that other move. And here's one more. I've got many friends who live in different areas, one of whom lives in Sun City, one lives in a small 55-plus community. The small one has very nominal HOA dues because there really aren't any amenities. And another of my friends lives in Sun City and kind of regrets not making that same decision because she pays the dues in Sun City and really doesn't use any of the amenities. Now, I've mentioned a few people that Sun City isn't for, but who's it great for? Lots of people. It is absolutely a fantastic area. I actually just put another home under contract in Sun City yesterday, and that buyer is so excited. But Sun City is exactly what she wants. So who's it for? Well, it's for retirees who are typically done working or can work from home and don't have to commute. Those who want the 55-plus lifestyle, their community, the social program. Obviously, there are so many stories of those who love their choice to live in Sun City. So number 2 on the list is Wolf Ranch, and actually other areas like Wolf Ranch. Just picture a master plan community with resort-style amenities, state-of-the-art fitness center, multiple pools, award-winning builders. There are actually 9 builders in Wolf Ranch. But here's what that picture doesn't actually show. Wolf Ranch has a biannual HOA assessment of $560, which breaks down to about $1,120. Additionally, if you're in one of the patio or garden homes, there's a landscape maintenance fee of another $100 a month. So your HOA commitment could be far more than you ever anticipated. And here's another challenge that Wolf Ranch retirees discovered. Wolf Ranch is a new community competing directly with ongoing new construction. Here in 2026, there are over 200 new construction homes listed for sale. There are 9 builders actively offering incentives like a rate buy down as low as 2.99% the first year, and flex cash incentives up to $50,000. So if you do have to sell, you're competing with those builders, and you just can't provide what they provide. So the resale market in Wolf Ranch has been flat. So for someone who buys in Wolf Ranch and has to sell just a few years later, that competition will directly affect you. So who is it for? Well, retirees who want to live there long term, who actively use the amenities, families who prioritize community amenities over appreciation potential, anyone who doesn't plan to sell within the next 5 to 7 years, and who understands the builder competition dynamic. By the way, I have a simple spreadsheet that shows the costs across several neighborhoods, but includes HOA and taxes and utilities and things like that. It's a simple spreadsheet, but it's one of my most requested pieces of information. It's included in the Ultimate Retirement Guide for Georgetown, Texas. You can download that anytime in the description below. The third area really is more generalized, homes on an acre or more. And here's a fact that every out-of-state retiree should be aware of before they move here. Homes on an acre or more look like the dream you've always wanted. Maybe this property type is out of range in your market. And it's amazing when you come here that 1 acre plus lots have those lovely shade trees, the long drive up to the home. It's very impressive, and it's affordable now. It seems to be everything you've ever wanted. But keep in mind something I've said on other videos. If it's true in another video, it's true in this one. Georgetown has micro markets, and the 1 acre plus market is one of those. And the micro markets perform differently. So in the 1 acre plus market, the average price is about $854,000 compared to $515,000 in the overall market. Homes on an acre or more shot up more in value during that run-up of 21 and 22, and they took longer to start correcting. So homeowners in this particular real estate market, 1 acre plus homes, are negotiating more today than even those in subdivision homes or new homes. And I do believe it's because it took longer for that particular type of home to start correcting after the run-up in values. And again, typically this market performs differently. Inventory in the 1 acre plus market can be much higher than the typical subdivision market. That's usually the case. And additionally, these homes take a little more maintenance in the way of money and time. Somebody has to mow that acre or more of land. There are lots of services that'll do that, but you have to pay for them. Or you have to invest in a riding mower. Now, I did have a 95-year-old client who push mowed his 2 acres until the day he sold and moved to a 55-plus community. And septic systems are the norm with these type of homes, and they're fine if they're properly maintained. On a recent sale of mine, I coordinated for my septic expert to give my client an orientation on how to take care of their septic, and all is well there. If you've never had a septic, that is something new. Same with a well. So who are these homes a good fit for? Well, they're great for those who love the idea of privacy and elbow room and don't want the neighbor's lawnmower waking you up on the weekend. It's great for those who picture themselves atop a John Deere riding lawnmower, keeping their Texas land manicured. It's really just a lifestyle choice, and believe it or not, many of my retirees choose to live on an acre or more. But do be sure you know the issues involved before making a purchase like this. Number 4 on the list is Old Georgetown. Here's why Old Georgetown keeps appearing on relocation shortlists. The appreciation in the homes around downtown Georgetown went up dramatically compared to other areas of Georgetown. It's got the historic charm, the homes with big front porches, shade tree-lined streets, walkable to that fabulous Georgetown Square. For buyers coming from more expensive markets, the character, the walkability, they feel like exactly what you're looking for. But here's the reality that most out-of-state buyers don't really understand until it's too late. The median home price in Old Georgetown is significantly higher than Georgetown as a whole. But the big issue isn't the price, it's the price per square foot. You see, this area of Georgetown sells at more than $100 per square foot more than Georgetown's overall average, meaning simply that you get far less space for your dollar. And let's face it, in these older homes, with all their charm and character, they nearly always have less closet space, less storage space, even after a great remodel. I've been in so many of these homes, and so many of them are wonderfully remodeled, but there's only so much you can do. The typical scenario where you drive into the garage, walk into the utility room, and into your kitchen may not be the norm, even after the home's been remodeled. But Old Georgetown is fabulous. Who is it really great for? Well, anyone who specifically wants that walkable, historic character and specifically value the downtown Georgetown experience. They're happy to adapt to that smaller space for the compensation of the luxury of being close to downtown. So the last thing I'm going to cover, out-of-state retirees should approach with caution neighborhoods with a tax rate over 2.2%. These are typically areas with municipal utility districts. Say that 3 times. These are prevalent because, well, most of these areas have very high level amenities. They call them resort style, and they are impressive. Great for grandkids for sure. So why is this category on my list? Well, first, carrying costs. You see, the monthly difference just for those taxes can be $300. Yes, I said monthly. But taxes are part of the landscape now. And yes, theory is that when taxes are higher, home prices tend to be a little lower to compensate. And that's been the case over the years. I've done the calculations many times, but that seems to be waning because MUDs are attached to very popular neighborhoods with very impressive amenities. A lot of the master plan communities have very low percentage of retired residents. This is simply public information that's available on the tax record. Among non-55 plus restricted neighborhoods, there's some with high retired populations, some with very low. In the MUDs, it seem to have low percentage retirees. Well, I believe it's typical because they're paying for things they're not using. Now, the fact that we have homestead exemption and actually a freeze on taxes for 65 and older, a lot of people aren't aware that just applies to the school taxes, not city and county. I recently had someone call me who wanted to move to Sun City because her neighborhood was mostly kids and families, and she just really felt like she couldn't fit into a social group. So who are these areas good for? Well, retirees who might have grown up in Georgetown and really know the neighborhood pockets and the locations and want to be involved in this kind of community. Someone who wants that really new, modern, stylish home, whose social life isn't really focused around the neighborhood. So now you know the Georgetown areas to think carefully about if you're retiring here from out of state or even locally. But here's the thing, even if you avoid every single one of these, or you become very familiar with each one of them and whether they fit you, a mistake that costs you far more than a bad area choice could still happen. I see it all the time. It's actually the number one mistake I referred to earlier that out-of-town retirees make, and almost nobody really talks about it. The number one mistake is using a realtor who is not a specialist in relocating you to Georgetown, Texas. Over the past 3 decades, I've helped so many families retire to Georgetown, Texas. And after working through relocation moves year after year, one pattern showed up consistently more than any other. The retirees who got it wrong almost never were the ones who picked the wrong area. They were the ones who worked with an agent who didn't specialize in Georgetown and in relocating you to Georgetown. And here's why this matters so much in Georgetown specifically. I mentioned it earlier, but Georgetown is fragmented across multiple taxing entities, HOA structures, school districts, neighborhoods with dramatically different costs and lifestyle realities. A lot of people sell homes in Georgetown. Very few are intimately familiar with Georgetown, Texas real estate and understand it. Now, some agents work with local clients, and those local clients kind of already understand the landscape. If your agent doesn't proactively fill that gap, you could be making a big financial mistake, like a couple of the people that I mentioned earlier on this video. And here's what I've actually seen go wrong in practice. Retirees who didn't understand the difference between school district property taxes and city taxes. They expected one bill, and they got 3 separate ones with different rates. They watched their carrying costs jump by $400 in a single month because of reassessment valuations. Agent never explained how the tax structure works here. Retirees who bought in Wolf Ranch, for example, and found out 18 months to 2 years later that the builders were still running incredible incentives. They really could not resell their home when they needed to. Retiree who moved in and then found out they could have moved somewhere with a much lower tax rate. So here's what you ask. First, how many out-of-state retirement relocations did you work with last month? Second, ask them to walk you through a complete property tax picture for 78626 versus 78628, or a home in a municipal utility district. Third, ask about the relocation process. not just a consultation, but a specific framework. If you're considering a move to Georgetown in the next 12 months and you want someone who's been doing this, well, every day, every month, every week, feel free to reach out. I'm a little old-fashioned, so I do respond to my own texts, my own voicemails personally. Based on where you're coming from, what you need from your lifestyle here, what your budget is, we'll work out exactly which part of Georgetown makes the most sense for you. My name's Stuart Sutton, and help you make smart, confident moves based on what's actually happening locally, not what the national headlines are yelling about. And you know which 5 areas to be very cautious about. They may match up beautifully to you, but be sure you know the factors involved. The answer isn't always the obvious one. It depends on your particular situation. If you want to understand which Georgetown area would be the best for you and your budget, your retirement goals, grab my free Ultimate Retirement Guide to Georgetown, Texas. No hassle, no obligation. You can download it in the description below. And one more reminder, if you're serious about moving to Georgetown, Texas, I will invest in your success by helping pay for your visit to Georgetown, Texas. Find out how at visit.georgetowntxrealestate.com. And remember, it's your choice, so make it a powerful day.